Okay, we're live. Thanks, Michael, for coming on the show.
Hey, man, no problem. No
Now,
problem.
the reason why we had Mike on the show is because I saw his. You've been on uh, Bigfoot Odyssey twice, and the second time you actually were on with Larry Battson. And if you look at my thumbnail, that's where you'll see the picture that Larry Battson drew of the Sasquatch that Michael's seen, and we're going to go into that. We're going to go into that encounter tonight. It's one of my favorite encounters that I've heard. It was pretty hairy. Pardon the pun. Oh, you've disappeared. There you go. So now, where are you, Mike?
I am in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Now, where you had your encounter wasn't too far from Kerry either.
No, it wasn't. Mine was in Perry County, and I think he was either one county up or two counties up from me. We've talked about it. It's give or take 30 to 50 miles apart, somewhere around in there.
Now, before this whole Sasquatch, before this experience you had, what was your thoughts on Sasquatch?
I didn't believe it. I thought it was just a bunch of baloney. People doing it to try to make money.
Not even, they might survive up in the Pacific Northwest, but that
yeah,
not even that.
That was on the edge of my mind. If they do exist, they probably exist, in British Columbia or the Northwest. But not down here in Mississippi.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Same with up in Massachusetts and stuff when people have sightings, I've
heard all over the world.
Yeah, exactly. So
got the Yowie over there in Australia. They got the Yeti, and you got the. He's been spotted up there around Mount Everest and all that too.
Yeah, and then you got the Yeren in China.
Yeah.
So
I think South America too. I've heard of sightings in like Chile and Peru too. I don't know what they call them there, but I've heard that they've been spotted there too.
There's got to be something in those rainforests. My God.
Oh God, it might be something much worse, huh?
Exactly. So now, how did you come across this? How did you come to be in a situation where you had this encounter? You're a hunter, right?
Yes. Down here in South Mississippi, I'm a still hunter myself, but in South Mississippi and South Alabama, deer hunters use dogs to hunt deer, and I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's very dangerous and it's a good way to get shot. So when dog season's in, I used to go up to a few different wildlife management areas where it's still hunting only. And this particular spot, I used to go every year. And I had really good success in this spot. It's called Leaf River Wildlife Management Area. And the whole inside of it, they take really good care of it. They keep it planted. There's not it's not killed over with a bunch of hunters because when you still hunt, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time and a lot of work. You gotta travel a lot on your feet, on 2 feet, because the roads and stuff are closed in there. Well, anyways, there was a ryegrass field. I think it's the biggest one that's in there. It's really close to the game warden headquarters. It's huge. It's probably about 500 yards long. And it has a power line that's running on the side of it. And what I would do is I would go down that power line and get behind it on kind of like a wedge. And what the deer do is deer, they're a low light animal anyways. Most of the time when you deer hunt, you're going to see most of your deer either early in the morning or right before the sun goes down. They're a low light animal. Unless it's a full moon. If it's a full moon, they travel during the daytime, but that's a different story. I was probably about 500-600 yards down this power line, and I was on the back of this ryegrass field. And the wedge that I was sitting on, well, I was not sitting, I was jacked up 30 foot in a tree. It was a corridor for these deer. They would go lay up in it during the day, and then during the afternoons they would cross through my area to go to the ryegrass field to eat, and I would catch them slipping. And I was it was probably about 4 o'clock. I heard something behind me. I was facing west, and I heard something straight behind me coming out of the east, and it sounded pretty heavy. First thing I'm thinking, okay, it's a deer. It might be, and I'm hearing limbs pop and break, and oh, this is a big deer coming. Oh my God, I'm getting ready because my tree stand, it's one of them jack up climbers. You can't turn around. I mean, you only get a view to your left straight ahead or a view to your right. You can't turn around. You just can't. But he was coming in behind me, and he was loud, man. He was, I mean, it sounded like a freight train coming through there. He gets about 40 to 50 yards on the right of me, and he stops. I can't see him. It's too thick. I'm like, okay, maybe this deer smelled me or something, or I don't know, but he's not like going away from me, and he's not going back the way he came from. So I'm waiting for him to pop out on the power lines at any time. And so I got real quiet, and I start hearing breathing, like labored breathing. I'm like, what the heck is this? And it just sat there for about 30 minutes. And you have to realize one thing. This was December the 16th, so it gets dark, pitch black dark, at about 5:20, 5:25. Thinking, what the hell is this thing on the side of me? And I'm waiting, nothing. So I'm like, okay, maybe it slipped out and I just didn't hear it. So I'm sitting there just waiting on another deer to come, and all of a sudden I catch something in my peripheral, in my right eye. I look, and about 140 to 150 yards down the power line, I see this black object. It's on all fours. It walks straight to the middle of the power line, and it sits down. And I said, oh, wow. Okay, that's a bear. I mean, I know that we have bears around here. I mean, there's not a lot of them, but, that they are here. So I looked at the scope, powered it up, looked at it, and it's sitting down, but there's just something off about it. It's digging in the dirt. Like I could see his left hand digging in the dirt. And I looked at him, and he turned his head to the side. I'm looking for a muzzle, like a bear. He turned to the side, and I said, something is wrong here. I don't know what. I mean, I wasn't thinking Bigfoot right off the bat. I was thinking, is it somebody? Is it somebody playing a joke on me? Or, I mean, does somebody want to die? So I focused on the back of its head, and the first thing I noticed is his head, the shape of his head. It was that it was a conical shape, and I put that scope all the way to full power, and I was really drawn onto this guy. And I noticed that his hair on his back was like hair. It wasn't like fur. It wasn't like you would think like a dog or a bear. It was like hair, real hair, like black, dark brown hair, matted. You can see through it, and his skin was like an ashy gray color. And my heart's beating out of my chest because I don't know what's going on. And this thing's on the power line. I know that I have anywhere from about 40 to 45 minutes to get out these woods because it's fixing to be dark. And whatever's sitting over there, I'm going to be in the woods with it when it's dark. My adrenaline's going 90 to nothing. And I finally yelled. I yelled at it. I said, hey, real loud. I mean, I can't scream because I got kids that are sleeping. But I yelled at it. When I did that, This thing all in one motion put his hand, I mean, it was so fast. This is why I say these things are God gifted. This thing put its hands on the ground and just popped. He just did one motion, just popped. And he was on his 2 feet. And he was circling. He was doing probably about 40-yard circles, and he was scanning. He was scanning the bushes and the trees. He was looking for the source of the sound, because that's why I think that this thing didn't know I was there.
Right.
And it was scanning and scanning and looking, and then it yelled. And it was so loud when it yelled. It was deafening. I mean, it was just horrible. It was just like Carrie said, demonic sounding. And he still didn't see me. I mean, I guess I was hidden pretty good. I mean, I didn't think I was really that hidden, but. And he kind of looked my way a little bit, and I waved at him. I said, "I'm right here." I did just like that.
Wow.
When I did that, he looked at me straight in my eyes and walked straight to me. And as he was walking to me, he's talking. I don't know I know they got language. I don't know what he was saying, but it was just that deep, that oh yo 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 yo. He walked straight to me, and he got 30 yards from my tree. I'm getting the shakes, man. Just give me just a second.
Yeah, that sounds freaky.
Yeah.
So you're all in camo, or are you just regular?
No, I'm decked out in camo. I mean, I got my face covered and everything.
Right.
And see my eyes.
Yeah.
See this in my hat. So he gets about 30 yards from my stand. And it's just a staring contest. And I said to myself, you need to get your gun up. You need to get your gun up. I got my gun up and I put him in the scope. But as I put the gun up like this, he turned his head like this. And he kind of did like that. And he gave me that look like, you better not. You better not. So I looked at him in the scope. It was just a big old fur patch. I had to repower my scope down. And I looked at him. That's when I got a real good look at him. He was 30 yards away. And before I describe him, I just got to tell you why I think these things are human, because it was like you can see the emotion in his face. Like he was doing certain, he would smile. He would do all kind of stuff. And his eyes, there was no white at all. It was like shark eyes, just jet black. Like he had 2 big old black marbles for eyes. Yeah. Couldn't see a pupil. Couldn't see anything. His nose, wider than ours a little bit, but it was very human looking. It was a hooded nose, big flaring nostrils. Not a whole lot of facial hair though. He had his hair. He had about that much forehead, and then the hair started. He had a head full of hair. He wasn't in the missing hair department, but just not a lot of facial hair. You know, you see like pictures of like Chewbacca with just hair everywhere. This guy didn't have it. His whole face was like mine. He smiled a couple times, and after doing research about smiling, doesn't mean that they're happy. That's just something they do when they get excited or something, I guess.
Like a grimace or something. Yeah.
The teeth were like ours. They were squared, but much bigger. Kind of like horse teeth, to be honest with you. His hands were really big. This guy was ripped, man. You know, a lot of people say that when they see a Bigfoot, like the head comes out here. That's not it. They have a neck, but what it is their shoulders are so big that it hides their neck. I mean, this guy turned his head and everything. I mean, if you don't have a neck, you got to turn your body, you know. They have a neck. It's just so big. It's so big. His forearms were just as big as his biceps. His hands went down. His knuckles went down to his knees. Never got a chance to see his feet. So going back, after about, I drew on him about 2 or 3 different times, and every time I did it, he would turn his head to the side, like he was. I know it was kind of a look like he was shy, like when I would do that. It was really weird, but I was also getting the vibe of, you better not. I think these things know what guns are, for sure. So after looking at this guy for a long time, he did like a yawn. He opened his mouth. Oh my God, his mouth was so big. You can put a whole cantaloupe in his mouth. Maybe even a little small one of them little seedless watermelons. You can fit the whole thing in his mouth. He stuck his tongue out, and he was kind of like tasting, almost like he was tasting the air. Maybe they use their tongue to smell and taste. I don't know. It was weird. He did it real quick and like a yawn. His teeth, I didn't see any canines. They could have been broke off. His teeth were like ours, but they were a little crooked. I left. Well, I got to get. I don't want to speed the story up. I want to give you everything that you deserve. So yeah, it was just a staring contest for about at least 20 minutes. I think it was a little bit longer though. And he started getting ants in his pants. It was almost like the way he was looking at me. He has never. He was maybe in the same situation that I was in, that he's never been that close face to face to a human. He might have seen him at a distance, or whatever. But the vibe that I was getting off of him, that he was just as freaked out as I was. So he started pacing. He starts pacing, and he keeps putting his hands on top of his head, and he's pacing back and forth. And at this time, I'm so scared, and my adrenaline had been going for so long. It was almost like, I got to do something. Either I got to kill him, or he's got to kill me. Something's got to happen, because this sun's dipping down, and my truck is a long way. He's pacing, and he finally looks at me, and he gives me one last scream. And when he screamed, Cornell, Dave, when this guy screamed, he was close, and I got to see it with my own 2 eyes. His mouth got real big, and it was like a drawl. It was like a, wow. And when he did it, his whole face caved in on top of itself when he did that. This guy dropped back. He got back on all fours. He ran across the power line, starts ripping bushes up, gallberry bushes, throwing them in the middle of the power line, knocking trees down. I can see it's like a bulldozer going through the woods, and he's grumbling, and he's screaming, he's ripping stuff up, but he's going north on the other side of the power lines in the woods, away from me. And he jumps back across. Oh man, I'm getting really nervous. He jumps back across, and now he's behind me again, and he's yelling, and he's ripping stuff up. He's super pissed. But I notice he's going further away. And he finally got to a point to where I had to make a choice. I said, it's now or never. You got to come out the tree. And buddy, when I come down that tree, let me remind you, I was 30 foot up a tree. And I'm in a jack up stand where, as high as I was, it probably took at least 22 jacks to get up 30 foot. I was down in 8. At least 8 or 9 I was down. The bottom of my elbows were beat to death from hitting the metal going down. I get on, the power line, and I start hauling ass. Little overweight at the time, and but my adrenaline's saying go, go, go. My truck's roughly 500 yards away. I get about a quarter of the way down and I have to stop because I'm whooped. I'm out of shape. It goes from a run to a very fast walk. And on this particular power line, there's a section of it. When you get about halfway to it, there's like this little, like a little island, like not like water island. It's just like a little plateau that comes out to the middle of the power line. And then the power line straightens back out again. I start walking, and right before I get to this island, there's something on the side of me in the woods. When I walk, it walks. When I stop and listen, it stops. When I start jogging, it jogs, and it stays just about 30 yards in the woods, 20 yards in the woods, just enough till I can't see it. And I don't know what's going on. So I start running again, and I can hear it on the side of me. Doosh, doosh. I mean, just running right next to me. And this little plateau that comes out on this power line, the way it was running, it was going to intersect me right at that island. And my heart's thumping out of my chest. I stopped. It stopped. And finally, I had enough. And I took a shot. I had a 7mm Magnum, and I shot one shot in the air. When I did that, everything stopped. Everything stopped. So I'm walking back to my truck, and I'm probably about 150 yards from my truck. And I can see the power line's not straight. There's hills and stuff on it. I can see the top of my truck. And when I got to where I can see the top of my truck, I hit another gear. I'm running. I finally get to my truck. Get around. I'm fumbling for my keys. I got a voice in my head saying, Mike, get in your truck and go. Don't be stupid. Figure it out later. Get in that truck and go. Get in that truck and go. As soon as I put my key into my door, it screamed again. One last time. But it wasn't like the other 3 or 4 screams. This was another draw up, but it was just like a woo, ka, like a whip. Get my truck, and it's nothing but dirt roads inside of this management area. And there's a cul-de-sac at the end of the trail I was on. I didn't do the cul-de-sac. I backed my truck up a hill, and I just ripped it out of there. And I'm fishtailing, almost wrecked a couple times. I finally get to pavement, and I hit Highway 26. And brother, we're talking about 90 to 100 mile an hour all the way back to the coast. When I got home, I left my rifle and everything in the truck, stripped down nude, and got into the shower, a cold one, and sat in there for about an hour in the fetal position.
Wow.
Mike, when you said that you watched it scream, you said it's like its face caved in on itself. What did you mean by that?
It was like when it was screaming, it was like this. I don't know. There was so much power. It was just making his face, the skin on his nose and his cheeks just flap. It just like looked like it was caving in on itself. It was weird. Never seen nothing like that. I mean, anything that you see on Dr. Seuss or anything, it's in that category, man. I can't explain it.
Now, the skin on his face, was it that ashy gray like the rest of it?
This guy, real ashy gray. This guy needed lotion big time.
Okay.
I never, it's funny because when he ran away, when he dropped back to all fours, it was weird the way he ran like that. It was like, it was, some people talk about the spider crawl and all that. It wasn't nothing like that. It was like You ever seen like a Great Dane run? Real lurpy. It was like a real
Yeah.
lurpy. Yeah. It was weird. Like a lurpy dog.
When it was standing upright in pacing, as you were describing, was its walk natural, or did it seem like something that would spend more of its time as a quadruped? Or
I think they spend most of their time upright because I think they're built like us. I think they might drop to all fours. I think that they're just as good on all fours as they are upright like us. That might have something to do with hunting or something like that. And and when he walked, it was weird the way he walked, even on 2 feet. It was like, you know how we walk, we lock our whole knee out. His knees stayed bent the whole time he was walking. It was real weird.
Well, the length of the legs. I'm trying to build the whole picture in my mind here. Say the way our legs are lengthwise in proportion to our body. What was the length of this creature's legs in proportion?
I would say he had long legs, man. I just couldn't. I couldn't really get any definition out of his legs because it was really hairy down there. I didn't get a chance to see no genitals or anything like that. He was pretty hairy on his legs and stuff. But as far as like length, he had long legs like a basketball player.
So it wasn't the shorter, stumpy legs like you'd see on a gorilla or an orangutan.
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring a picture up of what Larry Battson drew. You were on with Daniela, and you give him the description, and he drew this picture. Now, this is just a new laptop, so just bear with me. It's really slow. It must need to be updated, or there's drivers need to be updated or something. Let me see if I can get it up.
Hey, Kansas Squatch, good observation.
So that's what Larry Battson drew.
Yeah,
and you said that's pretty accurate.
It's very accurate, especially the eyes. I mean, it's not dead on, but it's very close. The way I explain that, you see how high his shoulders up are.
Yeah.
His head, his head is actually on top. He's got a neck. It's just his back muscles are so big it hides it. As far as the facial hair, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, he did a good job.
That's ugly.
Yeah, yeah. I think Carrie's was a little uglier though.
Looks like he's happy though.
Yeah, that's just that weird smile, man. I don't think it's because he's happy. I think that's just something they do.
So when you said that he ran kind of that lope on all fours, putting the picture in my mind how long you said his legs were, it would have been odd because that would have been an unnatural gait for him.
Yeah,
he would have had to have had his knees bent pretty good to pull that off.
It was weird, man. It was so weird. Now, that happened there. That happened very fast. That was like, I mean, he might have been a lurpy dog and everything, the way he looked, but he was getting it. And on all fours, they can chase down the fastest runner on earth. I guarantee you.
You also yelled at him too. You also yelled, "What do you want?"
Yep. What do you want? I left that part out. That's why he got pissed off. Because he was pacing around, and I finally got to the part to where something has to happen.
Yeah.
And I found that the last time I looked at him, and I said it with all my mind. I said, "What do you want?" And that's when he screamed and his face caved in and all that.
That's exactly what you would say, right?
When was it this sighting took place?
When?
Yeah.
December 16th of last year.
Last year, so very recent. Have you since or before that heard of any other people having or seeing anything like that in that area?
No, I haven't heard of anything.
Now, is this in a wildlife management area?
Yep. It's Leaf River Wildlife Management Area. They took very good care of it.
Yeah, that's a good place for these because they're not open to just regular tourism. And generally, if it's not hunting season, they've got the place to themselves.
That's it. And they take very good care of that place. The game wardens up there, they're very strict. Yeah. That's why it's a successful place. It's well managed.
Those game wardens must know something. That
yeah, man, you know they do. They basically drive up and down them roads every day for years and years. I'm sure they know something.
So what happens when you go home then the next day and stuff? You got to go back to work.
I didn't go back. No, I didn't go back to work for about a month after that.
Really?
Yeah. I just told him I wasn't feeling good. I didn't get into why. First person I told was my dad. That took a little while for me to do it. And he believes me now, but I think in the beginning it was like just the shock of it. Me telling him something like that. I think he wanted to believe me at first, and he acted like he did because he loves me. He's my dad.
Right.
But I think it. I mean, he does now. We've been back to the spot and everything. Me, him, and my brother. But my little brother, I took him. We went back because I had to get my tree stand out of there. I'm surprised it didn't get stolen. When was it? Late March. I don't have an exact date. I want to say it was probably around March the 20th. We went back in there. I had my 45 on my side, and I was doing some math. Some certain places where he was standing up. He was 8 foot easy. He didn't look at that big. I mean, I knew he was big, but from 30 foot up, looking down at him at 30 yards, he didn't look 8 foot. But once I got on the ground and looked at the place later on, he was every bit of 8 foot, maybe bigger. He was solid, man. He was solid. Just his midsection was just like a big barrel.
Yeah.
Was its hair uniform in color, or did it have any differentiation in it?
It was just black, dark brown, black.
Okay.
But it was.
Yeah, I heard a guy here that saw one on Little River, southeast Oklahoma, 20 some odd years ago, and it was big. He described it. He said it was like a big black Brahma bull standing on its hind legs. And to me, that's massive.
No, I don't know if he was a type 1 or a type 2 or a type 3. I heard there's like type 1s and type 2s and type 3s. The type 3 being what people call the dog man. And I don't know there's that. Another one. Type 1 is supposed to be like the patty type. And then the type 2s are the more like chimpanzee looking ones that have the big fangs and all that. More monkey looking.
Well, I think some of those reports, especially from like down in South Florida in the Everglades, some of those may well be sightings of a monkey that has gotten loose or something.
Yeah, down in Florida they have the old skunk ape.
Yeah, like that Miyaka skunk ape picture that was so famous a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
To me, that looked just like an orangutan to me.
They call them down here. People call them. They call them wood boogers.
Yeah, I've heard Carrie use that term.
Yeah.
So did you
here in Oklahoma? It's just Bigfoot for the biggest
Bigfoot
part.
or Sasquatch. Yeah.
Yeah, mostly Bigfoot around here.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Texas, man, is loaded with them.
Yeah, I'm not that far from that part of Texas. See, the Comanche Mountains is just separated from that by a floodplain that starts down around Idabel, and it blends right into northeast Texas, just a few miles, really. But yeah, that northeast corner of Texas is a hot spot for sure.
Yeah.
If you want to brave the bugs and stuff, man, that's a swampy mess. I got some friends that research down in there, and they're talking about that. If it's summertime, it's horrible.
The first time I ever heard the Sierra sounds, you know, I didn't never listen to none of this stuff on YouTube or anything before this. I mean, I just wasn't interested. I didn't believe it, so why would I watch it?
Yeah.
But after this encounter, I stayed glued to YouTube, man. I mean, just because I needed answers. The first time I heard the Moorhead Sierra sounds, I said, "My God."
So what you heard sounded a lot like that?
Just when he was walking to me and he was talking, I've already put two and two together what happened. I mean, I'm pretty sure what happened. There was two of them, and they was doing the same thing I was doing. They was hunting. I just got there first, and he didn't know I was there. And when I yelled at him, and he finally spotted me, and I said, "Hey, I'm right here." He was talking when he was coming to me, and I think he was talking to the one that was not making itself known, which could have been one of its kids, maybe its wife, or whatever. But you know, I've hunted all my life, and I've heard whoops, and I've heard just crazy stuff in the woods, and I've always just marked it off as being construction workers or some kind of nocturnal bird. You know, the whoops.
So Strangeland is saying, did you say you saw the dirt under its nails, or is
Yes,
you thinking
I
of
did.
another show?
Yes, I did. That was when he was digging. When he was sitting down, when he was digging. He was digging in the dirt when he got close to me. 30 yards away, when I was looking at him real good in the scope, I can see the dirt up under his fingernails. Yeah, sorry, I left that out.
I wonder what he was digging for.
Who knows? Probably bugs.
Hello, Livewire. How you doing, Mark?
Yeah, anybody's got any questions? I'll throw them up on the screen for you if you want. If I forgot to ask them.
I want to throw this in real quick. There's a show on now that where they analyze footage and things like that, and they debunk a lot of it. But they had the Sierra Sounds on there last Friday, and every expert they had look at it that were skeptics said there was no way that was a human doing that.
Really?
This one lady that's an expert on the vocal and languages and stuff, she said a human would have blown their vocal cords out trying to do that.
Wow.
So that was really neat because they debunk everything on that show just about. And I was expecting them to come back and say that was hoaxed or something, but she said they were like, no, that is no known animal, and a human could not have done that.
These things
got that square in the unknown creature.
So Chris Kimball said he did reserve duty in Camp Shelby in the 90s and had no idea they were in Mississippi back then.
Oh yeah, that's Camp Shelby. That's the Army base. That's right there by close to Hattiesburg. Yeah,
that's actually, not knowing they're there. The book I wrote, The Champagne, which is a Choctaw native legend, that goes all the way back to the Mississippi, which is Choctaw homeland. So they were there.
I've heard a lot of stuff about these things now. I mean, I'm not no expert by any means, and so let me go ahead and get to the what happened to me the other day.
Yeah.
First of all, Carrie Arnold thinks I'm crazy because I still go in the woods. I wasn't nowhere near this spot. I was in a different spot. I was in Stone County. It's actually one county down from where I had my encounter. But I was out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I had a hunter with me, but he wasn't like hunting with me. He was in his own spot. We was probably about a mile apart, something like that. And when I say out in the middle of nowhere, like no cell service, only one road going in, Nothing there. No kind of civilization for at least 45 minutes. Yeah, 45 minutes in, easy. And I was hunting, and I can hear some distinct talking, like two people having a conversation. But it was so, I mean, like I said, it wasn't like right next to me. It was so far away and so faint. But it just occurred to me, I mean, who could it be? I mean, there's nobody out here. And I just kind of just shrugged it off, you know. Of course, I'm thinking Bigfoot, you know, of course. Oh, here we go again, you know. And it wasn't, but it was just every once in a while I can hear like two people talking, but just way off, just like you can hear like, I'm like, oh, you know. And a couple hours later, I heard a faint baby cry, like an infant crying. I said, okay, this because I've also heard that they like to do that they like to mimic people that for ambush and stuff like that. You know, a baby crying, you're going to go check on it. I said, okay, you know, I didn't even finish my hunt. I got out of my tree and I got right onto my four-wheeler and booked it. Got to the truck, called my buddy up, said, hey man, finish your hunt out. I'm staying in the truck.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Are you going to go back out again, or is that it?
I'm really starting to lose interest because I've been a couple times this year, and I don't hear stuff every time I go, but I did have that, and it could have been nothing. I'm not saying it was Sasquatch, but I mean, you know, after you have an encounter, you think everything is.
You're just going to have your head on a swivel.
Head on a swivel, and I've tried to sit. I can't get comfortable. It's always on my mind. It's just not worth it. It's not worth the time and the money. I don't enjoy myself anymore.
Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna just stick to fishing, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I love to fish. That's when I go out. Of course, I do a lot of solo camping down in the Comanches. I was there weekend before last. Nothing happened that time, but it was in the same place that we had picked up all those whoops and tree knocks, and where Cornell had something come up beside his tent. But a lot of the time I go, you don't hear anything out of the ordinary.
I text Carrie and told him about it the day it happened, and he said the same thing to me. He always says, he says, man, when are you gonna learn?
Livewire said, I'm not saying it's Sasquatch, but it was Bigfoot.
You know? I mean, it could have just been coincidence, you know. If you ever have anything like that happen to you, man, it just changes you. It really does. It changes how you look at the world. And I mean, there's actually a living, breathing, other kind of human being out there that's much larger than us, smart as a whip, good at what it. I mean, it's not. I don't think they've made it to the Stone Age yet. I mean, because we're not finding no hammers from. Maybe they do. I mean,
well, here's some. You know, somebody asked me about that. Why haven't they evolved?
Yeah,
more?
It's a question I have too.
Think about it. Evolution is by necessity. If you're already perfectly designed to live in your environment, why would they need to change anything?
Exactly.
Like a dolphin.
Exactly. I mean, why would it? I mean, look at us. Without our clothes and tools, we're very low on the food chain. So it's very necessary for us to advance, to raise ourselves up. The Bigfoot, they're, as far as I can tell, perfectly designed to live in nature without any other tools or something. So why would they need to?
They don't need to light a fire. They don't need
that's
tools.
That's just my thought on it, you know.
That makes sense.
Another thing I can share with your viewers is just a little advice. If this ever does happen to you, the best advice I can tell you, I mean, I ran because I was scared, and he got a little bit far enough away from me where I thought I was safe. I probably wasn't safe. I was just doing it out of just pure fear. Don't engage these things because they're too big and they're too good at what they do. Just you're gonna have to back. I mean, unless you're fighting for your life, you have a weapon and you have to do what you got to do. That's another thing. Don't engage these things. They're big.
Well, Mike, I think there's a possibility because obviously, as fast as you witnessed that thing being, it could have had you anytime it wanted to, probably.
I think it definitely spared me.
So is there maybe, I'm just thinking out loud, possibly you were closer to a family unit or something and it was trying to kind of coax you out of the area?
I think there's a possibility I was being escorted out. That's why it never showed itself. I've thought about that a lot. I don't know what that was. It could have been.
Because I know these things are extremely stealthy. The one I saw, was very fleeting and it was very fast and it was very silent and it wasn't that big. But it was just by chance that I just caught a glimpse of it. But this one that you saw, it was putting on quite a display of, will you please get away from here? Is the impression I'm getting from your story.
Yeah.
That it just, and I've said before, because I, get people that say, oh, they're predators of human. They're out to get human. I said, if they do, they're very bad at it because as far as verifiable stories about these things actually taking a human, very few and far between.
Yeah.
But they're certainly capable if they wanted to.
I think they have personality just like we do. I think there might be good ones and there might be bad ones. That some of that 411 missing 411 stuff, Sasquatch could very well be responsible for some of that.
Yeah,
could be.
It's funny when the thing screamed at you. That was probably like, get out of here. But it must have known that you were up in a tree and you couldn't just get out of there. I'm surprised if it was just trying to run you out. Well, I guess it did go away and let you get down after a while.
It looks like somebody's asking me a question.
Yes. Have you had any dreams of Sasquatch?
I have. Not lately, but after that encounter, a couple times. But it was more like reoccurring of what happened.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, don't engage these things. Just let them do what they're going to do. If they're not threatening you in any possible way, just steer clear, man. And good luck telling your story.
Well, the native tribes have learned to live with them for centuries.
Yeah.
But, back to what you said about there being possibly good ones and bad ones, there's the Champagne from Mississippi. That was definitely one that was up to no good, but they had a different name for the more benevolent ones. Just like up in the Pacific Northwest, you had the Sonaquah, which would steal children and eat them.
Yeah.
But then you also had the just run-of-the-mill Sasquatch, whatever name that different tribes used for them, that were just considered another tribe, so.
Another thing that's always crossed my mind, the giants that used to exist, the big red-headed giants, how did them and Sasquatch get along?
You're talking about the red-headed?
Yeah,
Arizona?
The red-headed giants that used to walk the earth that had 6 digits. The one that they had one that they killed one in Afghanistan.
Oh, I've heard about
I thought that was debunked.
I don't know.
Afghanistan.
The Kandahar giant.
I know that they have found the fossils of the red-headed giants, though.
Huh.
I'd heard about some found in some caves in Arizona, I believe it is.
Yeah,
where they found sandals and things like that.
Oh wow!
That's why I was asking if they were as big as Sasquatch. I mean, they probably butted heads.
Yeah, that'd be a pay-per-view fight.
Yeah, that'd be a good pay-per-view, huh?
Yeah, I'll just have to say I don't know that much about those red-headed giants that they found in Arizona, but I know it was in a cave system there.
Yeah,
I haven't looked into that a whole lot.
The Kandahar giant, that was an army. They was searching for a army platoon that was missing, and they got to a cave, and they found a bunch of shredded equipment everywhere at the mouth of this cave, and some body parts and stuff like that. And supposedly this red-headed giant come out the hole, and he had some kind of metal rod, and he actually stuck it through a soldier and picked him up off the ground. And they unloaded on it. It was a platoon of about 8 or 9 army, and it wasn't going down, so it wouldn't go down. It was M16s, and the chief told them to aim for the head. And when they aimed for the head, they shot him down and killed him. And they called it in, and they looked at it, and they said it was red. It had a big, long red beard, red hair, and a helicopter come, and they put a net up under it, and the helicopter took it off, and they was told to never talk about it.
Yeah, Mr. Ballin did a story on that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a tall tale, but it's still fun.
Yeah, I'll have to listen to that again.
Yep. And also, they had that one Sasquatch story. I don't know if you've heard, where there was some guy that he worked for some kind of special ops or something a long time ago. This was like a deathbed confession, and there was a female Sasquatch and her kid, and they killed. They shot the mother in the chest, and the mother went up the mountain in agony, screaming, and they killed the baby, and they took the baby.
Wow.
The government did. I mean, I think it's absolutely horrible. But
is that the one about the soldiers up in Washington State?
I don't think that this was like soldiers. I think this was like black ops. But they was having a Sasquatch problem somewhere near some kind of government facility is what it was. So they went out there during the day, and they was chasing them. They was chasing a group of them, males and females, and they was chasing them down the mountain in this black helicopter. And they noticed there was a baby, and the mom kept grabbing the baby because the baby wasn't fast enough. And the males and the rest of them, they hid, but the mom kept coming out to grab the baby because the baby was going up to the helicopter. And they ended. Somebody went down the helicopter on the ladder with a 30-06 rifle and shot her in the chest. Probably 50-yard shot. She grabbed her chest and ran back up the mountain, and the baby went in the woods, but he come back out, and they ended up killing the baby. I mean, I know it sounds horrible, but that is a story on YouTube.
Yeah, that's not the same as the one you're thinking of. Steve told on his channel. That's a different one.
Well, see, I've been in law enforcement before, and I know some about tactics and stuff. And some of those stories that I have heard repeated on some other channels about how they approach something when loading their weapons and stuff like that is not how they do things. So if they go into talking about how they instigated those attacks, and I'm not saying the one you heard, I haven't heard that one, but this one was how when they got the Sasquatches in their sight, their commander told them to put a chamber around. And I'm like, oh my God, man, anytime you go out on an operation of any kind, and I've been on operations, with the police department, you don't wait till you get there to load. You have a chamber. You have a round in the chamber when you get in the squad car and head out.
Yeah.
Or when you go to work. I mean, you go prepared from when you go to work.
Have you guys ever heard any of Coonbo Baker stories?
I'm not familiar with him.
No.
He's got a bunch over here. Who's the fellow over here that's talking M16s and Glock 10s and all that stuff?
I'm going to bring this up, actually, see if somebody can decipher what he's saying. I can't do this anymore.
I can't
M16.
do this anymore. M16 will do the job. Glock 10mm will do it too. But I have been warned. What have you been warned about? By who?
Yeah, that's kind of.
Keep in mind, I am a firearms guy. I do.
that kind of came out of left field, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if there's something specific that you're wanting to bring it up. You don't have to say goodbye. Peace, love, and happiness.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I watch a lot of Steve Isadell stuff. You know, the How to Hunt guy. Steve Carpenter. I watch some of his stuff.
Scott,
you ever
Carpenter.
watch him?
Oh, Scott.
I actually
Scott
sort
Carpenter.
of know.
Sorry.
I've spoken to Scott several times on the phone. He's a friendly individual.
Yeah.
Namely, I'm finishing up my second book, and I'm going to have a chapter on what different views people have on what the nature of these are. And Scott's got a very different, he thinks that they're the biblical Nephilim from Genesis chapter 6. And I wanted to talk to him about that because I didn't want to misrepresent his point of view. And he was very
well
forthcoming
could be.
about why he thought that. I don't, but that's.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
No, like you said, others. I'm not an expert. Nobody's an expert. If we had an expert, we'd have a body somewhere to study. But
I think there is a body somewhere. I just don't think they're telling anybody.
For sure.
Well, there could be.
Yeah, he's.
But Scott's definitely. I'm not taking anything away from his opinion whatsoever. Like I said, he's a nice guy, and he's put a lot of study into building his opinion about it. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's had some wild stuff happen to him, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very close to meeting that guy. I think Daniela was trying to get me in contact with him. I don't want to. I want to talk to him like on the phone or something.
Yeah.
And just get some certain opinions on a few things that that happened in my encounter. See if he can put some stuff together for me.
Yeah.
It was a long encounter, man. 20 to 25 minutes.
Yes.
That's an eternity.
That's the longest one I've heard.
Yeah. Carrie's was like 2 minutes.
Yeah. I've listened to Carrie's about 5 times.
Oh yeah.
I love that story.
His is good, man. Well, Carrie can, he can do it better than me. He can, with the details and stuff. I'll just say I'll just pretty much straight up God just tell you what I saw. But
no, you tell it good. Plus, you just saw yours like not even a year ago. He's been sitting on this for what, 11 years or something.
Yeah.
Have you ever met Carrie face to face?
No.
See, I have. When he came down to Lavar's place and done the documentary there on his place, and I was on part of that.
I heard he's a big guy.
Carrie's that's what I was saying. I was like, man, you're a big guy. You could probably give a Sasquatch a run for his money in a wrestling match.
Yeah, he's 6'4".
He's
a big guy,
he's pretty much my go-to guy because we're both from the same area.
Right.
Well, if anything ever happens again, he's always the first one to know. In fact, I didn't even know who he was. When I did my encounter on Sasquatch Chronicles, like I actually talked to Wes like 3 times before I actually came on and did it. And when I did it, when the show was over, he says, "Man, you got a guy that lives close to you that had damn near the same thing happen."
That's how you got to know Carrie then, huh?
Yeah. And look, man, it was like clockwork. I went to work that night. The next day I got a text and you know how iPhones are. It says maybe so-and-so. It said maybe Carrie Arnold. I'm like, who's Carrie Arnold? And Oh yeah, the guy Wes was talking about. So I went ahead and listened to his encounter. I found it on YouTube and I listened to it and I was like shocked.
Yeah.
So I called the guy. We talked on the phone for about a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Kerry, he kind of got, I mean, everything from hearing it like speaking some sort of language and everything like you did. And
yeah,
you said that's only about 20 miles from where Kerry's encounter was.
I don't know his exact spot. We was talking about it one time. It's like 30 or 40 miles, I think. It's close though.
Sharon asked, does Mike have a channel?
Now I know where he lives. He lives in Poplarville, I think. Okay. Yeah, Poplarville. It's either Poplarville or Picayune he lives. It's them two towns are pretty close to each other. But his actual encounter spot is way north of where he's from. He used to he had a hunting lease that he was in for a long time, 7 or 10 years. It was actually an old black man that had it, and he actually did a show with him, and even the older gentleman said that he's heard all that kind of stuff too back there.
That's right.
Just sounds wicked. I'd like to get it out of. I'd love to go to that spot, not hunt it, but just look at it.
Yeah,
it just looks freaky on YouTube,
Yeah, it does. Where he's standing and stuff, like you could just imagine yourself there, and then in his shoes, and he's just got like a little shotgun, right? It wasn't that powerful.
And another thing, Kerry, he also told me, he says, yeah, he had number 4 turkey shot. I mean, he could have probably done some damage if it was right there, but
yeah.
But he told me, he said that when he got to his truck, he got a 7 mag. Well, that's what I was hunting with, was a 7 mag. And he was like, man, I'd have killed it. And I said, man, I'm telling you, when I looked at it to the scope, it was just too human looking. I would have felt like murdering a human.
Yeah,
because he wasn't he wasn't engaging me. I mean,
right.
It's one thing if he's walking up to the tree trying to shake me out the tree.
Yeah,
he wasn't doing none of that. He was just as interested in me as I was in him. I was just scared. I was just scared shitless. I was interested, but I didn't want to be interested like that.
Yeah.
There's an old story about a guy that was hunting in British Columbia back in the 50s. And one was digging around. And when he thought it was a grizzly bear and he was going to line up to shoot it. And when it stood up and turned around, he saw that it wasn't a grizzly bear. And he thought, and I'm recollecting what I read, that, man, this is something, if I shot it and brought it back, that'd be of real interest to science. But he said, looking at his face, he said he felt like he'd have been committing murder if he'd have shot it. And it was a female.
Oh, really? The way this thing,
he felt like he would have been, do what?
The way this thing was walking, it was almost like it was weird. It was almost like robotic. It didn't look real. Just the physics didn't match up.
Looked like stop motion. I've heard people say stop motion before.
Yes, but just real fast. And it's almost it's not like he walked to me. It's like he glided to me.
I've heard it called like a cross country skier. The way they walk with the knees bent.
It was almost like a
glide. Their knees. They glide. It was like think about it.
He was covering way too much. He was covering way too much ground for as many steps as he was taking.
Right. Well, you're a hunter. You go out in the woods and stuff
all the time.
That. When you're walking through possibly hazardous terrain, and I'm speaking for myself, I don't lock my knees when I'm walking in that stuff. I walk with a bent knee because you're easier to recover yourself. So if you think about it, something lives in that type of terrain all the time. I would think it would be more adapted to, walk in such a manner.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another thing. They call these things Bigfoot, but that whole encounter, I don't remember seeing his feet not one time. Even when he was running away, I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Never seen his feet. Seen his hands.
Hey, pull Pull up Eamon Chris, his hypothetical question there.
That one? Oh.
Yeah, purely hypothetical. What kind of gun does Dave think would be sufficient to protect you from a Bigfoot? I want to answer that in this way. I have no intention of ever shooting one unless I felt my life was in danger. But I don't see, I mean, and I think Mike would probably agree with me on this. Whatever would bring down a game animal of that size would bring down a Bigfoot of that size. I mean,
and if you want me to throw my 2 cents in, I can do it. Yeah, I think anything 30 caliber or higher, you shoot him between the eyes, he's dead.
Yeah, Live says semi-auto tactical shotgun. Now, what do I carry when I'm in the woods? I carry my service weapon that I used when I was a police officer. I carry a Glock 22, which is a 40 caliber, and that's a light handgun really for a big animal. But the main reason I carry it is not for fear of the Sasquatch. It's in case I run into a criminal element when I'm out. It's more self-protection there. And we have bear in this part of the country too. I'd fire off a warning shot if one ever did anything other than run away from me, which is all they've done at this point. But yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people popping in about that. I've been told you need anything from a 50 caliber to the howitzer. It's like, come on, guys. It's like
I carry a 42, Dave. I carry a Springfield.
Now I use a different. Now on duty, I carry a hollow point bullet, but out in the woods, I go to a rounder point that penetrate more, on a larger animal. But
like a full metal jacket?
Just me.
A full metal jacket round, or
no, not even that. Just a brass.
Just a regular soft point, but rounded.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
but then again, like I say, that's more for you get out there, and I know the most dangerous thing in the woods, I've told people, is the southern tweaker.
A southern,
is, right? Yeah. Southern tweaker, a meth head that. Yeah, I had a couple of them come into one of my camps one time and just sit there and stare at me. I'm like, they're sizing me up because I was out there by myself. When I thought, well, I'll go say hi. And when I stood up, they saw my sidearm. They found somewhere else to go. But had I not been armed, there's no telling. They might have decided to try to rob me.
We have a really bad meth problem down here too.
No, we do too. It's horrible around here.
It hasn't really made it up here as bad. It's all heroin up here.
You always hear about you always hear about meth labs, like people get blown up and they cook it wrong and it just blows the whole house up.
Oh.
Eamon Chris said, I was told in Tallahena that Bigfoot is meth or myth.
Heroin is getting bad here too, though.
Yeah, we've got it here. The thing is, it's the meth, man. What it does to people, it just makes them freaking crazy.
Yeah.
We have a deal here a few years ago. Highway patrol. You know what kind of shape highway patrolmen stay in. He got called out on a suspicious person on one of these back roads over in Cole County, and we got there. This guy was a tweaker, and he has had one of those shake and bake meth labs in his car, and he was on that dirt road doing it. And this guy fought that highway patrolman till he was exhausted, and then took his own gun from him and killed him with it.
Oh, wow.
That's what kind of superhuman strength these tweakers have when they're on that stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, in highway patrolmen, they're in top physical condition. So, and that was Rocky Eels. You can look up that story as Trooper Rocky Eels. No, very sad.
Yeah.
Probably
heroin just.
If he would have just shot the guy.
I know. How about not the good thing about heroin, but the less dangerous thing is usually that just knocks people out. you know?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
bails them out.
Yeah.
Knocks them out. Well, a lot of people OD on it too, though.
Yeah.
Right. Fivehead says,
stops
geez,
your
Dave,
heart.
that's scarier than Bigfoot. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, anybody else got any other questions? We're over the hour. Had a good lot of questions tonight. We had a good turnout, actually.
Cool, man.
Yeah. How many we have in the chat, Cornell?
We had 40 at one point. Nothing like Bigfoot
Really?
Odyssey,
Hey,
but yeah, 40's
well,
big
we're
for
getting
me.
we're getting a little bit more each show. So
Yeah,
you're one of our third guest. See, we've
My
had
pleasure,
Carrie.
I'm gonna do it too,
Evans
but it's just
last
I'm
week.
gonna wait about a year.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm gonna name it yet, but I'm gonna do it.
It's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Strangeland over there said NAWAC is a pro-kill group. I enjoyed their talks till that came up. Yeah, and here's something too, Mike. What do you think about this? This NAWAC, they operate in this area called Area X, which I've been to. It's a wildlife reserve area too, but it's in a remote, deep valley. I've often wondered if there's a family unit like in one of them areas and somebody shoots one of them, what their chances of getting out of that valley alive are.
Yeah.
I don't think, I think that these things, I think if you see one, there's probably a couple more around for sure. And I'm going to let you read the question.
Yeah, she asked us earlier. Sorry, I forgot to put it up. Did you feel sick or did you get zapped or anything during the encounter?
No. And it's funny because you hear the whole woods gets quiet and nothing was out of the ordinary. Nothing was out of the ordinary. There were still birds chirping. Maybe that happens to some people, but
yeah,
it didn't happen to me. And I got no smell. These things supposedly smell horrific. I didn't get an odor. And I ran straight past the spot where he was at too, and nothing like that.
I've wondered, some of these animals that put out a musk or a scent like that, it's sometimes when they're agitated or something. Maybe the smell of the Sasquatch thing is something they can keep to themselves or not. I don't know, but there's a lot of accounts that do come in where people tell me, no, I didn't smell anything. But then another one, somebody says yeah, it was awful, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know. Maybe some of them have better hygiene than others.
I think these things also,
unknowns,
I don't know why I think this, but I think that they're also seasonal. I don't think they stay in the same spots.
No, they couldn't.
I think these things travel.
Well, and as a hunter, this, any large animals or group of animals, if they stay in one concentrated area for very long, there's going to be heaps of evidence.
Oh yeah, I think they follow the food.
And they may stay in it like say the Ouachita Mountains, which Comishes are part of. I mean, there's thousands of acres there that they could be nomadic through those range and never visit the same place twice, in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So I think they've got to be nomadic, moving.
What is y'all's opinion on Dogman?
I don't really have an opinion.
I'll say what I always do. I do not believe it is a viable biological entity, and if there is such a thing, it's going to fall more in the paranormal realm.
Yeah.
And that way I can say that without discrediting anyone that says they saw one. But I think if there's such a thing as that, it would have to be in the paranormal.
Yeah.
Because that's not a viable biological entity.
Right. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, it was definitely a pleasure.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks for coming on, man.
If you need me to come back, I'll do it, man.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing your story with us. I'm sure everybody over in chat appreciated it too.
All right, guys. Man. Good night.
Cool. We did it.